this is the second time that you've been nominated. The first time you went to the Oscars, what was that like for you?
Well, I don't know. I mean, it was like a big. I mean, I had to be honest. It was like a big sort of surprise. I always say, that first time, I almost like didn't believe it was happening somehow. I was all the time like, oh, what is it? Why is this happening to me? It was like a sort of like, I don't know. I was like on the clouds, I suppose. And I had a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. This time, I think, because obviously it's like when you eat the same dish twice. It's not so tasty the first time, but I mean it's amazing as well. I mean I was also very very amazed, that I got this nomination, and I'm very very happy.
Well, your first nomination, just like your second, is for your work on a Tom Hooper film, and you've worked with such tremendously great filmmakers over the years, and I'm curious to know about that collaboration with Mr. Hooper. What makes that unique, do you think?
Well, I mean, I think one of the things is like first, Tom is always very very aware of the importance of visuals in a movie. He always is very. I mean, all his movies always have been like really sort of like taking and thinking how important is the visual aspects of movies, and in that way it's very special working with him. Also because I think he has very very clear ideas when you start working with him, and when you start working in a project, he always has these ideas that they are like sort of like big strokes. For example, in this movie, he said to me, I want the audience to feel that Lily is trapped in a sort of like body that is a jail for her, and he gives you this sort of like very big ideas, and then when you start working, let's say in the costumes themselves, you have an amazing freedom, but into his already. Into his ideas, then I think that's what makes Tom so special, that you feel a lot of freedom into a sort of like concept that they are really sort of like relevant for the movie, I mean, because obviously this concept about thinking how Lily was trapped in a body that wasn't her body is reflected in the movie through the design of her costumes from the beginning when she was looking as a man. And then all the sort of like things we did, like making her costumes more colorful and with more movement, and I mean, then this is what makes, I think, Tom so special. And also because we work in a really great team with Eve, that she is an amazing designer and with a really really strong vision, and with Danny Cohen, the DP as well. Then it's like working in a family somehow,
Yeah, and I would also imagine that your relationship and communication with the actors is a really important part of this, because you just brought up the fact that Eddie Redmayne's character, he has to begin very in a very constrictive place where he's not able to express himself, like a prison, and that has to be reflected in the clothes. Like you just said, I would think.
Yeah, I mean the thing is, as you can see in the film, I mean at the beginning we start dressing Eddie with these high collars, with these sort of like very very tailored suits, with a lot of with heavy wools, like really constricted, and the thing is, you have to sort of like dress an actor to become a character. You need to build up a relationship, and it needs to be a certain degree of trust. The most, the better. And the thing is with Eddie, I think, and as well with Alicia, but with Eddie especially, we have created this sort of trust, because not only because we have worked together in the past, but also because I like always to communicate with the actors and have a really sort of like deep conversations about what do I feel about the characters, how do you think they should look, and also I want to have their opinions about how do they see how do they see the characters, and also what sort of like sensations or feelings are they having towards my ideas. And with Eddie it's like very easy because he's a very he's a great actor with a lot of understanding of the profession, and it's it's very easy working with him. In fact, we started working with him a long time before we started doing preparation for the movie, because we thought it was very important to sort of like understand what were the clues to become to make Eddie to look like a real woman. And then when we started doing preparation, thanks to this communication process, we already had the lesson learned, and that was like really very it wasn't stressful at all.
Tell me about the challenge of creating this. We talked about the constrictive aspect of the beginning of the film, but once Lily truly begins to come into her own and fully express herself, what were the challenges of dressing Eddie for those moments? Because he obviously has a different build and a different height than most women of that period, I would think.
Well, I mean, this is the reason. I mean, the main the main worrying aspect of this movie was always to make Eddie to look like a real woman. We didn't want to do a caricature, and we wanted to create somebody like very real. Then when we started like working with him, we realized that, as I said, just time before we started doing preparation, we realized that, for example, we have to hide certain areas of his body, like, for example, the shoulders. Also, he has an how do you say in English? Apple, Adam's apple.
Adam's. Yes, sir.
Another apple. Also, I mean, we already discovered a lot of things. Which colors were the best to soften him? Because I mean, but then very, very early, we just saw that he had a very sort of like a potential to become this woman. That at the beginning it was a very androgynous sort of like character, and it was also very interesting because it had to be a transition in the character, and then we were like trying to see all the sort of like transitional moments to become this fully woman at the end of the movie. Then it was like, as I said, because we had this communication and we had this previous work, it wasn't as stressful as you could imagine, because it was like sort of very organic. We were discovering little by little with Jan Sewell, the makeup artist, and with Tom, and with Eddie himself. All the sort of like shapes and colors, and also the other thing is, we went into we had the fortune, in a way, to be working in the 20s. That the 20s is already a fashion, was already a very androgynous moment with, where the sort of like silhouette with a waist as a wasp and all these sort of things already disappeared. Then that worked in our advantage, really.
Yeah. Tell me about the clothes of that period. Did you have to make the vast majority of these costumes by scratch from the very beginning, or do many clothes from that period still exist?
Well, the thing is, the 20s is a very I think it's a little bit problematic to find very good costumes for the 20s, because the 20s were a lot about very sheer and fine materials like chiffons and silks and very heavily embroidered with glass beads, that they were very heavy, And that has made that most of the 20s dresses haven't survived in very good condition. Obviously, it's a lot of them that have survived perfectly, but not as, for example, if you think about the 30s or the 40s. It's like the dresses of the 20s, because the nature of the fashion of the period were very fragile. And the other thing is because Eddie had, as you pointed out before, he had a body constructed in a different way as a woman of that period. And because also we have to take into account that we, especially in Europe, I think we have grown up. Our generation is like much taller than the generation of our grandmothers. Then we had to do most of Eddie new, but that doesn't mean that we did everything from scratch, because a lot of things we did is some of the dresses are made completely new, but some other dresses we just got original 20s dresses, and we that maybe they had holes or they have damaged certain areas, and what we did is like take them apart, and with those fabrics we constructed new dresses, but with 20s fabrics, and it was like a mix really. For Alicia, because she has a much more let's say like a body that is much closer to the body of the women that were wearing those fashions in the 20s, then it was like, I would say that we had more percentage of dresses that they were like already pre-existing than for Eddie, definitely. I would say we did like 80% of Eddie's and maybe 60% of Alicia.
The last question I wanted to ask you is about your team, because people see your name as one of the nominees, and they might not realize that you have a team of assistants like helping you on this massive project. I mean, especially like something like Les Miserables, which has so many characters and it's so sweeping and epic. How many people do you typically have working alongside of you on these kinds of projects?
Well, it all depends on the project, obviously. In Les Mis, I think we have nearly 50 people, or 55, 60, because we have to have obviously all my assistants that they work with me in the designing process, but also we have the costume supervisor side, that is the one, it's the people who work all the logistic of how to ship the costumes, how to get them here, how to send them to the dry cleaners, all these sort of things, how to deal with the budget. Then we have also the makers, that they are obviously a very, very important part. And then we have the people who are the dressers, that they dress the actors on shooting, during the shooting. Then that became in Les Mis, there were already 50, 55, 60 sometimes. And in this project though, we had a core of 5 people. I think it was Sally, my assistant. And then we have 2 or 3 other assistants. We have a costume supervisor, and then what we did is we had 2 dressers, because especially for all the house scenes with Eddie and Alicia, we had a big bulk of the movie that is very sort of intimate, and that it'll happen inside their apartment. And then when we moved to Denmark and to Belgium, we had let's say another sort of 15 extra people in every place, and let's say around 20 people in total maybe at any time.
Well, it's a beautiful movie, and your costumes play such a crucial role in making it the special movie that it is. And I thank you for giving me time today, and I wish you the best of luck and a great time at the Oscars.
Well, I suppose I will have a great time. I hope so. But as I said, I'm going to say the topic that everyone says, but it is the truth. The real truth is to be nominated is an award in itself, and that's what we have to take into account, I think.